Well, this is going to be an interesting video. It's going to be kind of a look back in my history, and we'll talk a little bit about Christmas lights and animating them, and I guess today and now. So what you're looking at is a very old wired frame of a train. Actually, there's multiple components to it, and I will put a link up here to this display lit up in action. There's some moving animation to it, and we'll talk about that. It's very old. I was a kid when these were built. My dad actually welded up the frames, and my mom kind of did some of the drawing of the artwork, and then I would help put the lights on. And I was pretty proficient at electronics, and there was a gentleman that kind of mentored me a little bit on how to make some boards that would animate Christmas lights, because he had them in his yard, and he took the time to kind of tuck me under his wing, and I learned a little bit about electronics before taking electronics later on. And so we were one of those families that had a really cool display with these animated light displays. Now they're incredibly simple to build, and back in the day we would drive them with kind of a homemade circuit board, and it worked really well. Today you can actually do it a whole lot easier because there's just more stuff available to the DIYers. Now, to make a kind of a long story short, this stuff got tucked away for well over a decade, and it just wasn't being used. And my dad at one point actually rewired them all in rope lights. And then he turned some of it over to me and some of the stuff over to my other brother. And the stuff I had, the rope lights just were kind of half lit and half burnt out, so they needed redone. And instead of going rope lights, I really always liked the way the old-fashioned kind of twinkle lights looked. And now we have LED, so these are LED, so they should last a long time. And I decided to put them up this year. Of course, I got COVID, so I got behind a few weeks, and I'm grossly behind. I really wanted everything up by the 1st of December, and I'm going to be doing good to get everything up by this weekend. But we're going to try. And I just wanted to explain to you how these are made and how incredibly simple they are to make, and kind of fun. So basically the construction is number 9 fence wire. You can buy that in any farm store, Menards, any of the big box stores. It comes in a big roll. And what we did is we would draw these out on a large piece of plywood, which is why they're all 4x8. And we would take a Sharpie and draw out what we wanted. And then we would lay the wire and bend it on top of it. And then we just used a stick welder with some pencil rod and just kind of sticked everything together. And it worked really well. Like I said, these things are probably 30 years old. And this one still needs cleaned up and straightened out and fixed and welded and things. But I've already done the caboose. It's all been straightened out and repainted. And I did the engine, straightened everything out, welded what was broken and repainted it. I wired this up last year and towards the end of December. And how we fasten these bulbs is just zip ties. So if you take a look, you can see zip ties. It's worked very well in the past. Way back 30 years ago, the guy that kind of mentored me in electronics, he had his own kind of clip making jigs and things, and he used to get his clips, and they were kind of fancy, but none of those clips survived, and none of them are around, or I would show you, but they were kind of a wire clip that you kind of stuck the bulb in and gave it a twist, and it would lock them in. It also pointed them straight at you, which was kind of cool, but since then we've just been using zip ties to mount them on there. And then recently I thought, you know, I can probably build something on a printer, and I was able to find one of these clips on Thingiverse, and I modified it just a little bit to tweak the size, and these work great. So I'm no longer using zip ties. As you can see, I'm now using these little clips. They work fantastic. They just clip onto the wire, and the bulb clips on the other side, and they kind of lock in place, and they don't scoot around, and they look nice. Now, as far as the animation goes, it's just basically turning different strings of lights on and off. So you can see the bar on the wheels, there's actually 4 of them, and I will wire them up with 4, strings of different lights, and then we will turn them on one at a time, and from a distance it looks like it'll be in motion. There's also some smoke that comes out of the stack, and if you see the video up here, you can pay attention to that. You'll see some of the details. And then the wheels, I don't think in that video they were animated, but they will be this year. We've redone these a couple times, and basically what I do is I take 3 different strings and I string the wheels 3 different times, and I kind of clock each bulb a little bit, and then you turn one on, one off, one on, one off, and it makes it look like the wheels are spinning. So that's what we'll do with the wheels on these cars. And to take a look at this bear, it looks a little wonky because you don't light all of the wires up. You only light the wires up that you want the detail. And it looks like he has 3 arms, but there's only 1 on at any given time, so it looks like he's waving. So he just kind of waves up and down. And I think in one year we actually made the star twinkle a little bit, which was kind of cool. And then, as I said earlier in the video, we used to have kind of, custom circuit boards that we built to drive them. But today you can drive them really easy just using an Arduino board. These are just a controller that kind of uses a C++ language and are really easy to deal with. And if you just want to turn a pin on and off, you can just kind of do that by some quick programming and maybe a clock feature. And these are just solid state relays that just so happen to kick on right around 3 volts. So you can actually drive them directly with the high pin off the Arduino. And, they just use, I think, an optocoupler inside. So it's a very low current to turn these relays on. And so, I'll just literally set up a script that is, got some highs and lows. And each one of these relays will represent one function on the train. So, it takes 3 to make lights look like they're in motion. So it'll be, string on, string off, string on, string off, string on, string off, and it'll make it look like those wheels are spinning. And it'll take 4 more for the bar and smoke feature on the engine, and that's how we'll drive it. It's really simple. I'll do an update to this video when I get things kind of in motion and can get a little better video, but I just thought I'd share with you what I've been up to now that my COVID symptoms are gone, and I'm actually doing pretty well. So every night I work on these just a little bit, and I'm hoping by this weekend we'll at least get the train up in the yard. That's kind of my goal. Now here is a set of bells, and you can see only one is on at a time. And well, right now only one's plugged in, but when it's plugged into the controller, it'll look like it's swinging, because one will be on, it'll go off, and the next one will come on. And it's just a wire frame, same stuff, number 9 fence wire. And this is some of the original rope light that my dad put on, and it still works. So I'm probably going to run it like this year. But they're so incredibly simple to build. You just kind of have to have an imagination and a little bit of time and some patience. So this is a little rocking horse that we built one year. Now it's bent and dinged, and the head's kind of deformed, and all of it needs straightened out and cleaned up a little bit. And again, these haven't been plugged in for 10 years, and you can see some of the lights are out on the bottom. And rope lights back in the day, they were just rice lights, and today they're LED. But back then they were rice lights, and you would lose one, and parts of the rope lights would go out. And I noticed that actually one of the heads was out on one of the other ones. But there's 3 of them, and only one's on at a time. And of course, it gives the illusion that it's rocking, so it's pretty cool. So one last thought before we end this video, and that was some of the struggling I was having with finding LED bulbs. I really liked the classic look, and I really wanted LED because, the regular bulbs burn out. You can still buy them, but the LED I think is going to last a little longer. And the problem I was running into is, different colored LEDs carry different voltages. And basically what some manufacturers do is, if you buy a string of red LEDs, they just have a resistor, that is kind of tuned for all those lights. So to mix those LEDs with other strings is not ideal, because you'll change the voltage a little bit. And of course, if you do a lot of them, you'll either have really dim LED lights or you'll burn some out. But some manufacturers, such as this one, now I didn't pay the retail price on this box, but this manufacturer just using regular white LEDs, and the globe on top is what gives you the color. So as long as you have a pack of 50 and another pack of 50, you can mix and match the bulbs between them and not change the voltage. So I purposely set out for a company that was doing that, and this company is doing that. But as you can see, they're exceptionally pricey. $15 for a 50 light string is a lot, but we were able to find them, since Christmas is so close. We had a significant discount that we were able to justify buying that particular brand. In areas that just have white lights or whatever, it doesn't matter. You just use a regular string of white lights. But if you're going to mix colors, like you're going to make a package red and maybe something else yellow, you really need to find a string that has this type of configuration where it's the same voltage on every bulb, and you can just kind of mix and match the strings and it'll still work just fine. So as you can see, Saints' workshop in the basement is, well, it's kind of a mess right now, but we're still getting things done. And like I said, if I get all this stuff in the yard and lit up this weekend, maybe I'll do kind of a quick video and show you what they look like this year as compared to, many years ago. Actually, the video up here, I'm not even sure. I think it's posted, I want to say 2012. maybe even older than that. I'd have to go back and look at the date, but it was actually taken from an older device that I'd recorded, and I just wanted to get it up there and documented so everybody could see what they used to look like, and that's why that video is there. It's pretty poor, and at the time it was some pretty bad music, but it was what I found, and I've learned a lot on YouTube, and maybe we'll do a better video when we get this stuff out in the yard. But that's all I got. If you like these types of videos, please like and subscribe. Take a look at some of the other things I've posted. At the very least, you might be entertained.